This story has to do with Shvat, with the previous Rebbe, and with the Rebbe. It's an absolutely fascinating story. I heard the story from our Jew, the Bavel Mordechai Greenwald. This year, he passed away. He was 96 years old. But I heard the story from him many years ago. He starts his story with saying that he is of Hungarian descent, and there are many Rebbes that he heard about. But he really couldn't connect with the Rebbes. He says he's not so spiritual, and he couldn't connect with the Rebbes that he heard about. But there's one Rebbe that he connected very well with, and that is the previous Rebbe. He didn't know the name. He says the Rebbe who sat in jail. He says a Rebbe that sits in jail, that's my kind of Rebbe. That Rebbe I can understand. If he sits in jail in order to help Jews, I can understand this kind of Rebbe. And I would ask my older brother to tell me all about the Rebbe who sat in jail in 1927. He was only 2 years old at that time. He was born in 1925. His brother was much older. He asked his brother to tell him the story about the Rebbe who sat in jail in 1927. He didn't know, by the way, that the Rebbe sat 7 times in jail. But he knew about the time in 1927 where he was sentenced to the opposite of life and he got out. And this is my kind of Rebbe. Okay. It was in a concentration camp. And with God's help, in the end of the 40s, he came to the United States. The United States, he was at 425 Lafayette Avenue. It was the building of the Hayas that belonged to the UJA Federation, and this is where all the refugees had a place when they came to the United States, so he's also there. So he's asking the people there, tell me, the Rebbe who sat in jail, can I find him someplace today? And they said to him, this is the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he lives in Brooklyn. So he wants to go to Brooklyn from the lower Manhattan. He wants to see the Rebbe who sat in jail. Now he made up his mind that on a certain Sunday morning he's going to see the Rebbe. Saturday night, he finds out it was the Histalkus, the previous Rebbe, passed away. But he made up his mind he's going Sunday morning. He's going to 770. He's going to the Rebbe's place. Now he asks the people where it is and how does he get there by subway, which subway he takes and where he has to change for another subway. They realize that this greenhorn is not going to find it so fast, and he's probably going to miss everything. So they pull themselves together and they meet a little bit of money and they give him money to take a taxi from 425 Lafayette Avenue, Lower Manhattan, to 770 Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn. He takes the money, he takes a taxi, he comes to 770, and he sees that they're taking the Oren out of 770. They're carrying the Oren out of 770. He says, I'm a young man. He was 25 years old. I'm energetic. So he pushes, and he gets right in front of the Oren, and he wants to carry the Oren. And the people there asked him, is that given in Wasser? Were you in water? That's the nice expression of saying, did you go to the mikveh today? So without thinking much, he rolls up his sleeve, and he says in his Yiddish-Hungarian accent, and he says, Ich darf gehen in Feier, in Wasser. Ich bin schon gewesen in Feier. Ich darf nicht gehen in Wasser. He said, I have to go into water? I already was in fire. What do I have to go into water for? And there was a Jew there who heard him say this, and he said to the people, let him carry. He later found out that this Jew who told the people that he can carry the Oren was none other than the Rebbe. And it's understood because no one besides the Rebbe would be able to make that decision to let him carry the Oren if he didn't go to water, if he didn't go to the mikveh. But now he's carrying the Oren. And then he says, this is a story, I heard it from him, that every step that he took, he said, Rebbe Panuse, Rebbe Panuse. Panuse means sustenance, a job, sustenance. Every step that he took, Rebbe Panuse, Rebbe Panuse. Then he sees that people are piling in to cars. And he was energetic, as we said before. So he pushed his way in, and he's in a car, and he is going to the Oyhel. Goes to the Oyhel, Again, he's energetic. By now we know that. And he pushes his way, and he's right by the oil. And he takes a shovel, and with every shovel, he says, Rebbe Panuse, Rebbe Panuse, Rebbe Panuse. And that's what he does. After the proceedings, now he has to go back to 425 Lafayette Avenue. Now he doesn't have money for a taxi. He doesn't know how to get back. So he asks if there's public transportation, and people tell him that not far, although you have to walk a little bit, you can take a subway. So he goes to the subway station. But he doesn't know how to get there. So he sees a Jew who is also there by the Ehel. And he comes over to him and he says, I have to get to 425 Lafayette Avenue, if you can tell me how to go there. And the Jew told him exactly which train he should take and where he has to take another train and so on. Don't remember now whether he had car fare or not. Car fare at that time was 5 cents. I don't remember whether he asked him for 5 cents or not, or he had, that I don't remember. But he gave him the directions. And then the Jew asks him, in Yiddish, the Yid hot albet, the Jew has work. That's the way he asked. And our friend is a little sharp and a little chuchim, so he answers him, Ametem gein albet, vet ahum albet. If you will give him albet, if he will be given work, then he'll have work. The man takes out a business card from his pocket, and he gives him, and he says to him, tomorrow morning, you'll come at this address, and you'll have work. The man says, my friends didn't have work for months. I had work next day. And since I'm energetic, it continues the story, I wanted to please the boss, and I worked very hard. After a while, I became a foreman. After that, I became one of the managers. It was a knitting factory. And after a while, I became the manager. Years later, the boss wanted to sell the business. Because he wanted to retire, I bought the business. With God's help, I became a wealthy man. And the factory is not far from 770. The factory was on Atlantic Avenue, corner Kingston Avenue. Do the math, a few blocks from 770. And many times I would come from Mincha Ma'ariv to 770. Almighty God blessed me. I became a wealthy man. And I am supporting my grandchildren in koilelim in Israel. All with the bracha of the Rebbe Panuse. Next day I had a job, all with the bracha of the Rebbe. This year, the Rebbe Mordechai Greenwald was 96 years old, and God took him to him. And may this story be le'ilui nishmosi, tia nishmosi tzeduro v'tzedei l'chaim, Yisholem liofrei v'zichrei boruch. And as mentioned, I heard the story from him many years ago.